did Barry Posner and I develop the 5 practices of exemplary leadership? Well, Barry and I were at Santa Clara University working together. I was a director of executive education and Barry was an assistant professor at the time. And we were working together on doing a seminar. And the topic of the seminar was the best practices of managers. And so Barry and I had an idea. And that idea was we would ask the participants to tell us stories about their times when they were at their personal best as a leader. So they wrote answers to a series of questions about their experiences when they were at their Olympic level award-winning performances as leaders. And everybody had a story. There were about 60 people in the program. Everybody had a story. And when they arrived at the seminar, we had them break into small groups and tell their stories to each other and then summarize the lessons learned from those stories on flip charts in Kenna Hall 107 at Santa Clara University. And they did their assignment and they posted these newsprints on the wall. And then we had them do a gallery walk. And they walked down by all these teams, by the various newsprints that were listing the lessons from their experiences. And we all noticed something that was quite surprising, that even though these were different people from different companies and different industries, there were a lot of similarities between the flip charts. So Barry and I said, oh, there's some similarities across these stories. Maybe if we investigated this further, there would be other people who would say similar things. And so we started to take literally the statements people made, put each individual statement on a 3x5 card so we could do a card sort. And in the conference room table in Kenna 107, we just started putting out piles and saying, oh, cooperation, that's kind of like collaboration, that's kind of like teamwork. They all belong in a category. Vision, long-term goal, forward-looking, that's another category. Well, pretty soon we had 6 initially categories, and then through some further analysis, we ended up with 5. So the 5 practices really came from stories leaders told us about the times when they were at their best. So it wasn't a theory in our head that here's what leaders do, but it was what people told us in response to the question, when you're operating at your best as leader, what do you do? And so there were 5 practices that came out as a result of that. Then we further tested that using our leadership practices inventory to make sure that the statements were valid and reliable, which we've now done for almost 30 years. So the leadership practices inventory has a couple of key purposes. The first purpose of that is to provide individual leaders with the feedback on how they're currently doing. So the LPI is a 360-degree assessment that has a self-assessment portion and then observer portion. And so individual leaders are able to get feedback on how they're currently doing against 30 items, 6 for each of the 5 practices, so 6 times 5 is 30 items, on a scale currently of 1 to 10. The student leadership practices inventory has a scale of 1 to 5, but the classic, we call it, for managers, has a 1 to 10 scale. And that instrument then provides you with feedback on how well you see yourself doing and how frequently other people see you engaging in these 30 behaviors. So the first purpose is to provide you feedback. The second purpose is, based on that feedback, what is it that you identify as your areas of need, as well as your areas of strength? So where do you see yourself in relationship to how others see you? Where do you see your most frequently engaged in practices? Where do others see you as the most frequently engaged in practices? Where is there agreement, say, among managers and direct reports? Where is there disagreement? So you take all of those observations and all that feedback, and you're able to then say, here are the 3 or 4 behaviors which I want to improve on. So what is the benefit of using a 360-degree feedback instrument? So most of us, when we evaluate ourselves, tend to do one of two things. We tend to either underassess how frequently we do something or overestimate how frequently we do something. And so in order to give us feedback that is considerate of other people's points of view, we need to gather their input. We need to understand how other people see us. That's particularly important in leadership because leadership is not just a solo activity. It involves a group of people. I'm leading other people. So if I'm in customer service, who am I going to ask about what kind of a job am I doing? I'm going to ask the customer. Well, who is the customer when it comes to leaders? It is the constituent, the follower. So if I want feedback on how I'm doing as a leader, I need to ask the customer. I need to ask the constituent. So it serves the purpose of adding to my own self-perception the feedback of others. Then I can see whether my assessment is accurate or consistent with. It's accurate in the sense that that's how I see myself, but is it consistent with how other people see me? And are there patterns in how other people see me that are similar or different? Because not all constituents will see you identically. For example, managers often rate the leader, who often is a direct report to them, as doing something more frequently than direct reports do. So consequently, when I'm getting feedback, I can see whether my manager sees me differently than my direct reports see me, than peers see me in other parts of the organization with whom I work. So it provides me with the benefit of getting a more complete picture of myself than just my own self-view or even the view of one other person like a manager. So how many people should I ask for feedback? Well, that's kind of an it depends question. At a minimum, we suggest that people do it themselves, so that's self, their immediate manager. We ask them to also have at least half a dozen direct reports. So that's now 7 people if it's your manager and your direct reports. But also it's beneficial to have some peers you work with regularly give you feedback. And so we recommend 3 or 4. So 10 is a good number to operate with. But if you have 15 people you'd like to survey, the software accommodates that. You can do 15, you can do 20. We've had people do even more than that. It's a little hard to sort through the data once you get above 15 to 20. So somewhere between 12 and 20 is a good number. So what are the 5 practices then that we measure using the leadership practices inventory? Those 5 practices, which came out of the personal best leadership case studies, what are you doing when you're at your best as a leader, are first, model the way. Modeling is about, first of all, clarifying my own values, the things I strongly believe in as a leader, my leadership philosophy, and the values of my team, and then being able to set a personal example based on those values. So if one of my values is collaboration, then how do I show up on a daily basis, demonstrating, modeling the behavior, the value of collaboration. So model the way. It's about clarifying values and setting the example. The second one is inspire a shared vision. Inspiring a shared vision is first of all about envisioning in my own mind the future. What's it going to be like? But because I work with other people, what are their hopes, dreams, and aspirations for the future? So what are their visions of the future? And then looking at then what is our collective vision of the future, shared vision of the future? And then enlisting others, communicating it in such a way that other people can see themselves in the picture. It's kind of like if you get a jigsaw puzzle and you just look at the pieces but not the box top. You say, well, what's it supposed to look like when it's done? Well, you have a piece of a puzzle as a constituent, as a follower. Where does this puzzle piece fit with everything else? Showing people the cover of the box top helps them to get more engaged and more involved. So inspiring a shared vision by envisioning the future and then enlisting others. The third is what we call challenge the process. Challenge is, first of all, about searching for opportunities, having outside to be able to see outside the current way in which we're doing things and say, what else is happening out there? What's going on? What are the trends? What are trends in socioeconomically? What are the trends politically? What are the trends demographically? What about technology? How's that changing? And how's that going to shape what we currently do? So I look outside of the boundaries of the organization, and then I look inside to see what kind of problems and issues we're facing. I search for opportunities where we can change and grow and innovate and improve. And then we take little steps to experiment. We take some risks. We're going to make some mistakes along the way, so we learn from those mistakes. So challenge the process by searching for opportunities and experimenting and taking risks. The fourth is what we call enable others to act. It's about fostering collaboration, building teamwork and trust. You can't do it alone as a leader. It takes a group of people. So to do it alone, we have to to do it together, and not alone, we have to foster collaboration. And then we also have to strengthen individuals. Each individual person needs a different kind of development, a different kind of challenge, a different kind of opportunity. So I have to, as a leader, focus on the individuals as well as the team and the kind of challenges they need, the experiences they need, the training they need, the empowerment they need in order to do their best. So enable others to act by strengthening others and by fostering collaboration. And the fifth practice, and by no means the last in importance, but the fifth on the list, is encourage the heart. Encourage the heart is, first of all, about recognizing individuals for their contributions to the vision and the values, and then about celebrating our community and celebrating our successes as a community, celebrating the values that we share together as a community. So encouraging the heart is about, first of all, recognizing individuals, and then about celebrating the community.